Hi, this is Margaret Meloni, and welcome to the Death Dhamma Podcast. Open and honest discussions with wise and skillful teachers about their experiences with life, death, and Buddhism. If you wonder how others on the path have dealt with death and dying and grief, then be sure to listen in. Everybody has a story, a perspective, and a valuable lesson to share. Embrace death, live a full life, and learn how to love impermanence. Because as my dear father used to say, nobody gets out of this alive. So great you are here. Thank you. And before we dive into our discussion today on grief and compassion, or where there is grief, let there be compassion, quick update. Still on target for a September 28th release date for Sitting with Death, Buddhist insights to help you face your fears and live a peaceful life. And then that will be available in paperback and Kindle on your friend Amazon. And in way of celebration, on the day that the book launches, I will be dropping to you here, my listeners and subscribers of the podcast, a reading of one chapter from the book. So you'll get an audio taste of the book. And those of you who are on my mailing list, margaretmeloni.com, you will also receive the free audio chapter. So if you listen to the podcast, you'll get to hear me. I guess you can keep the podcast. And if you are on my site and signed up to be part of my community, I'm also going to send you an email and a copy of the file for you to keep. And that is also a preview, because after the launch of the paperback and the Kindle, my goal is then to release to you the audiobook in the first quarter of next year. So that's how things are going. And gosh, I've got this great group of talented and dedicated people helping me to make this launch happen. So stay tuned and stay with me. Okay, today, let's jump into our topic. Where there is grief, let there be compassion. And the thing is that as you navigate grief and you go through grief in all of its different stages, which are not always the same for every person, right? Bring compassion with you, and you will access compassion differently. And let's take a look at that. So, when your grief is fresh and raw, you need compassion, and you are your most important source. To be with your grief without being constantly overwhelmed by your grief requires tremendous amounts of self-compassion. When someone you love dies, you are forever changed. And at first, the changes you experience can be stressful. You might not sleep. You might sleep all day. You might not eat. You might eat comfort food. You might want to lose yourself in movies or shows, or you might wander around your home feeling, fitful and lost, unable to concentrate for more than a moment. You might crave solitude. You might be afraid to be alone, or any combination of these things. You might experience any or all of these on any given day. I always remember my aunt saying to me, "Remember, you're not in your right mind." And I was so annoyed. But as annoyed as I was by her comment, I also knew that she was correct. In my early, raw stages of grief, I was not in my right mind. And there was really very little to do about my state other than to continue to be compassionate toward myself. Each day I was doing my best. Some days that meant I was fully functional, and other days it was all I could do just to get out of bed and wash my face. So self-compassion, it's not an excuse to indulge in harmful or unhealthy habits. It's not a reason to ignore your responsibilities and stop participating in life. It is about you learning the best way to take care of yourself as you move forward. It is about learning to love and cherish yourself just as your loved one would have wanted you to do. Being self-compassionate does not mean you never do anything strenuous. The day comes when you need to go back to work and you need to interact with the public or attend social functions. Self-compassion allows you to be aware of your limitations, to find a way to move forward with your life gently. As I moved forward on my journey with grief, I realized that I was harboring some resentment toward a couple of people who I felt did not step up to the plate to assist me. And I needed to sit with this. You might have a situation like this of your own. Death doesn't always bring out the best in us. You might have friends or relatives who were insensitive during your time of need. And sometimes there's that person who acts up, right? They don't know what to do, so they behave in a way that seems inappropriate, or they make it about themselves, or fill in the blank. Maybe sometimes we are the one who acts up. Eventually, you realize that these people are just who they are. They have such a fear of death and such discomfort with other people's suffering that they were not fully there for you. Or because they acted out, you wished that they had not shown up at all. Begin to work on sending them compassion during your meditations to release your disappointment in their behavior. Remember, this is not easy for any of us. A possible next step on your journey is to help others whose grief is newer and more raw than yours. If you find that someone else's difficult situation brings you challenges, this is an opportunity for growth and learning. To get yourself the support that you need. You can start with returning to wishing self-compassion for yourself. And when the time comes that you are no longer triggered by death and grief, turn your compassion toward others. Working with others who are grieving has taught me many lessons. And one of the most important lessons is that not only is this difficult for all of us, but there are also different degrees of difficulty and suffering. Others have experiences that are entirely different from yours. I will admit, there has been a time or two when I realized that I was being judgmental about how someone was navigating their grief. There was this part of me that I just knew how they should act, what they needed to hear, and more. Or I would look at somebody and think, yeah, it's awful that your dog died, but you should be able to get up and leave your house and go to work. And then, of course, one day it hit me. I was beginning to act in a way that I found objectionable when grieving. Specifically, that I found these behaviors objectionable in other people when they were projected towards me when I was grieving. It annoyed me when people would come to me and tell me what I should be doing or how I should be acting. So this was a bit of an embarrassing realization, but at the same time, it was a fantastic lesson in compassion and understanding the suffering of others. It doesn't matter if I think you should be able to get up and go to work the day after your dog has died. It doesn't matter if I think you should pull it together and go to the grocery store by yourself. What matters is that you are suffering. And it's not my role to judge what is good suffering. To be helpful, I need to understand that you are suffering. And to be compassionate is to see your suffering and wish to alleviate your suffering and act when I can. Sometimes the most humane thing I can do is to send you metta. And with this realization came another component to my death training plan, a reminder that just because I have walked through an experience does not mean I am an expert or stronger or doing a better job. It's also not a competition. We are not all running the same race. Let's support one another's experiences. When you can channel the energy of your grief into doing good deeds for others, or sending your compassionate thoughts to others, you are creating positive energy, and the deceased may benefit from that energy. In this way, you can acknowledge that they are gone, and without attachment, keep them in your heart, and do good things in their name. Again, if the conditions are right, the merit you generate on their behalf may find them. As you grieve, let there be compassion. First for yourself. Later, send compassion to others who were impacted by your loss. And then, when you feel your strength return, remember that everyone is going to have this experience. And let this realization fill your heart with an abundance of compassion in a way that it cannot be contained. Your best response is to send that compassion out to all beings. In a quote from the Pali Canon, the Anguttara Nikaya, 8.1. If, with a mind free from hate, one arouses love toward just one being, one thereby becomes good, compassionate in mind towards all beings, the noble one generates abundant merit. So let's bring compassion with us in a way that we recognize that as we change and grow, so does the way in which we are able to offer compassion to ourselves and others. This has been the Death Dhamma Podcast with Margaret Meloni. Thank you for being here. Your reviews and comments are greatly appreciated. And please come find me on margaretmeloni.com, MargaretMeloni. And don't forget to check out Carpooling with Death, How Living with Death Will Make You Stronger, Wiser, and Fearless, available in all your favorite formats over on Amazon. And most importantly, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be safe, at ease, and free from suffering. Bye for now.